They threw dirt on your name because they feared what you were becoming, not realizing dirt is where the strongest things grow. My dear chosen ones, lean in, because what you're about to hear isn't sugar-coated comfort or soft-spoken healing. This is truth with teeth. This is revelation sharpened into motivation. This is the moment where you stop crying over what was done to you and start recognizing the power it activated within you. You didn't get here by accident. You were forged. And the very people who lied on you, mocked you, minimized you, misunderstood you, and tried to assassinate your character are about to learn something they never studied, never saw coming, and never prepared for. Chosen ones are not destroyed by attacks. They evolve through them. See, there's an unspoken rule in life. People don't target what is weak, common, or forgettable. They target what is rare, resilient, and rising. So instead of asking, why did they do me like that? You should be asking, what did they see in me that I didn't see yet? Because chosen ones, people don't waste bullets on things that don't threaten them. They don't fabricate stories about people who pose no internal danger to their egos. They don't gather in circles to whisper about someone they believe isn't going anywhere. The hate was confirmation. The lies were an accidental compliment. The slander was proof that your potential was louder than your silence. And let's address the question some of you still struggle with. Why didn't I defend myself harder? Because chosen ones don't beg people to understand truth. They let evidence age into revelation. You felt the tug to stay silent, not because you were weak, but because your energy was too valuable to be spent arguing with minds committed to misunderstanding you. You could have exposed them, but you chose elevation over retaliation. You could have matched their pettiness, but you weren't built for mud. You were built for heights. Remember this: silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. And sometimes silence is the loudest clapback in the universe. Chosen ones never forget. Lies are fragile. They require maintenance, memorization, and constant repetition. Truth doesn't. Studies show that habitual liars often forget their lies within days because falsehood is too heavy for the brain to store. So while they were busy constructing fictional versions of you, they were also digging intellectual potholes for themselves. Their own mind began tripping over their script. Meanwhile, you remained consistent. And consistency will always outlive conspiracy. Chosen ones, before we move forward, if this message is hitting your spirit, awakening something inside you, or reminding you of who you truly are, take a moment to support this mission. Your like is not just a click, it's fuel. Your subscription isn't just a button, it's a signal that this kind of raw, empowering, life-changing content matters. When you support, it allows us to keep creating messages that elevate, inspire, rebuild, and ignite those who are silently fighting battles the world knows nothing about. If you want more content that speaks to you and for you, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay connected. You know what made them most uncomfortable? Not your mistakes, not your flaws, not your past, but the fact that no matter what they tried, you continued to shine in places they never expected you to survive. They wanted their lies to be your chains, but they became your blueprint. They thought slandering your name would cancel your future, but it became the reason your character is now unshakable. They assumed you would crumble under humiliation, but humiliation turned into insulation. They believed they were burying you, but you were only being replanted. And let's make something very clear. You were never naive for trusting, loving, supporting, or standing by people who later betrayed you. That was not a flaw. It was evidence of your integrity. If someone chooses deception, manipulation, sabotage, or envy, that speaks on their identity, not yours. Their actions were a resume of them, not a definition of you. They didn't break you, they revealed you. and chosen ones. The most dangerous person in any story is the one who survives attack and still remembers who they are. So when you ask, what happens now? Hear this. Your comeback is no apology letter. Your comeback is a lifestyle. Your comeback is the fact that you can't be cancelled by people who never created you. Your comeback is the opportunities arriving without their permission. Your comeback is the peace they never expected you to regain. Your comeback is the growth they never planned on witnessing. Your comeback is the new version of you that their lies were too weak to stop. Chosen one, you are not just surviving, you are becoming. And becoming is the ultimate reply. When it's all said and done, history won't remember the lies. It will remember how you rose right through them like they were fertilizer. Keep your head high, your standards higher, and your purpose untouchable. This is not your ending. This is your announcement. Chosen ones, before we go any deeper into this powerful message, I want to speak directly to those who feel this, not just hear it. If this intro awakened something in you, that fire, that recognition, that I knew it wasn't just me moment, then don't just watch silently from the shadows. Support this movement by liking the video, subscribing, and dropping rising in the comments so we know you're one of the few who refuses to stay silent anymore. Your engagement keeps this truth alive, keeps this energy flowing, and keeps this message reaching the people who need it most. And now, chosen ones, stay locked in, because what's coming next will feel like someone finally put words to your unspoken past, your silent battles, and your unstoppable rise. Let's get into it. Number 1. Every lie spoken against you became a permanent record, not a successful attack. Their lies didn't delete you, they tattooed themselves with their own truth. When someone throws mud at your name, they forget it dries on their hands first. My dear chosen ones, lean in, because this part is not for the faint-hearted, the easily discouraged, or the ones who crumble when gossip gets loud. This is for those who have walked through character assassination with their mouth shut, their head heavy, but their soul undefeated. This is for the ones who stayed silent, not because they lacked strength, but because they refused to join a circus run by clowns disguised as critics. Yes, chosen ones, this is where it gets real, where masks melt, and where lies become mirrors instead of weapons. So let's address one of the most painful but empowering truths. Every lie spoken about you did not vanish, dissolve, disappear, or evaporate like smoke. No, it became a permanent imprint on the one who birthed it. People think lies travel freely without leaving footprints, like whispers that dissolve into thin air. But lies are not balloons that float away. They are receipts, they are fingerprints, they are audio recordings that never hit delete. They don't stick to your name, they stick to the person who created, repeated, and enjoyed them. The moment they decided to distort your character, exaggerate your story, twist your intentions, or narrate your life like they owned the script, they didn't put a dent in your reputation. They carved cracks into their own integrity. You may have wondered, why didn't anyone see what was really happening? Because chosen ones are not loud performers. We are silent proof. When they spoke against you, they believed they were getting away with social murder, but they didn't realize they were actually vandalizing their own credibility. They were building a documentary about themselves, not a biography about you. Every rumor they told placed them under a spotlight, and every fake detail became another label pinned to their own character. They were so determined to bury your name that they forgot holes are dug by those who intend to disappear someone, yet often end up inside it themselves. You didn't have to fight, you didn't have to chase people to correct the story, and you didn't have to match their volume. Why? Because truth doesn't sprint, it waits. Lies run fast, but chosen ones, they run out of breath even faster. Rumors may get a head start, but reality always crosses the finish line holding the trophy. You stood still because you understood something they never did. When you know who you are, you don't wrestle with falsehoods. You allow time to reveal them, and time, my chosen ones, is the most undefeated investigator in existence. Many of you stayed quiet and wondered, did silence make me look guilty? Absolutely not. Silence made you look wise. Silence made you look composed. Silence made you look unavailable for emotional playground fights. Silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. Only those who fear losing their image panic when accused, but those who know their value don't argue with opinions built on insecurity. Chosen ones, hear this loud and clear. Lies are not reflections of who you are. They are confessions of who they feared you were becoming. People don't lie about the weak, the irrelevant, or the invisible. They lie about the rising, the gifted, the evolving, and the ones who carry influence even in silence. They weren't trying to describe you. They were trying to distract others from recognizing you. And while they sharpened their tongues thinking they were cutting you, they never realized that words are boomerangs. The energy they spat out didn't evaporate. It circled back home. Every lie is a signed package. If it can't land where it was aimed, it returns to the sender with interest. You didn't lose anything when they lied, but they lost something every time they opened their mouth. They lost respect. They lost trust. They lost the benefit of the doubt. They lost their future audience. So if you've ever asked, why am I still standing while they look more drained than ever? It's because lies require maintenance, but truth takes care of itself. They were performing, rehearsing, remembering, adjusting, and retelling, while you were evolving, growing, learning, building, and becoming. They stayed busy trying to break your name, but you stayed busy building your future. That is why chosen ones win without fighting. Understand this deeply. You didn't walk away empty-handed. You walked away documented, reinforced, and untouchable. They didn't tarnish you. They exposed themselves. They didn't discredit you. They disqualified themselves. They didn't bury you. They planted you. And chosen ones, seeds don't panic underground. They rise when it's time. So breathe easy. Their lies were not your downfall. They were your announcement. Your story is still being written while theirs is still being questioned. And that, my dear chosen ones, is poetic justice without a courtroom. Number 2, their smear campaign never crashed your future. It quietly destroyed their own credibility. Their slander never slowed your destiny. It silenced their credibility. My dear chosen ones, let this sink deep. Nobody's lies about you ever touched your path, your potential, your identity, or your elevation. They only damaged the reputation of the person who tried to rewrite your story. Because destiny isn't shaped in group chats, it isn't decided in gossip circles, and it isn't altered by insecure voices who fear what you carry. Destiny responds to authenticity, not rumors. Purpose answers to action, not public opinion. Growth is built through evolution, not explanation. So while they were whispering, you were becoming. While they were plotting, you were progressing. While they were exaggerating, you were elevating. And chosen ones, the universe always rewards the one who keeps moving while others stay busy talking. People truly believed that talking behind your back could detour your purpose, but they never realized that your journey was never attached to their approval in the first place. The direction of your life has always been guided by your character, your work, your energy, your discipline, and your inner resilience, not by their version of your story. They assumed that if they could convince others to see you differently, it would somehow rewrite the role you were born to play. But chosen ones, your path wasn't written in pencil for others to edit. It's engraved in who you are, not what they say. And no rumor has enough ink to erase someone who was destined. Maybe you wondered, if so many people heard them, how did their lies not win? The answer is simple. Lies travel loudly, but credibility dies quietly. Some people may have listened for entertainment, but they didn't commit for a lifetime. At first, outsiders might have been curious, confused, or even swayed. But time always exposes who is authentic and who is acting. Repetition becomes suspicious. Desperation becomes noticeable, inconsistency becomes undeniable, and chosen ones, nobody can maintain a lie forever without eventually unraveling in front of their own audience. Because what happens when someone lies? They must remember details. They must keep their tone matching. They must remain believable. They must repeat the script the same way. But the truth? It doesn't require rehearsal. The truth never changes costumes. The truth doesn't panic. The truth doesn't slip. So while they were adjusting their storyline depending on who was listening, people started catching the glitches, the exaggerations, the dramatic flair, the unnecessary emotion, and the obsession they couldn't hide. Chosen ones, your silence did not make you look guilty. It made you look grounded. You didn't defend yourself because you understood instinctively that the loudest person is rarely the most truthful, and the calmest person is usually the one who knows how everything will end. Your behavior told a different story than their mouth ever could. People watched you move, and your consistency became your defense attorney. Your growth became your evidence. Your peace became your rebuttal. You showed stability while they showed insecurity. You demonstrated maturity while they demonstrated desperation. And the world eventually compared the two energies and made its judgment without you speaking a word. Their goal was to damage how people viewed you, but instead they damaged how people viewed them. The more they talked, the more transparent their intentions became. The more they exaggerated, the more suspicious they looked. The more obsessed they appeared, the more others questioned. Why are they so invested in someone else's downfall? People eventually realize that genuine individuals don't need to destroy someone else to feel secure. Confident individuals don't need to slander others to look superior. Balanced individuals don't obsess over someone who isn't part of their life anymore. So slowly, people began stepping away from them, not because of what they said about you, but because of what their actions revealed about themselves. Chosen ones, their biggest mistake was believing that character assassination could cancel someone who was already destined. They thought they were dimming your spotlight, but all they did was dim their own credibility. They wanted you to lose support, but they ended up losing respect. They tried to control how you were perceived, but they exposed how deeply threatened they were by your existence. In the end, chosen ones, slander is not a weapon. It is a boomerang. Every lie they told returned back to its origin. With the weight of truth attached, you didn't fall. They fell off their own pedestal. Your destiny didn't shrink. Their reliability did. You kept climbing. They kept crumbling. This is what happens when someone tries to fight destiny using gossip instead of growth. And now, chosen ones, the world isn't asking, is what they said true? The world is asking, why did they need to say anything at all? Number 3, the deception was allowed to continue, so their true identity could expose itself naturally. They wore masks until their own actions ripped them off. My dear chosen ones, listen closely, because this part is one of the hardest truths to swallow. The lies, the whispers, the sneaky conversations behind your back, the exaggerated narratives, and those fake smiles that hid venom behind their teeth. None of it was random. It all served a purpose, not because some outside force stepped in to orchestrate it, but because human behavior always exposes itself when given enough time, enough ego, and enough audience. Masks don't fall when people are being monitored. They fall when people believe no one will ever see who they truly are. Chosen ones, understand this. You didn't lose because you didn't confront them. You didn't lose because you remained silent. And you didn't lose because their lies spread faster than your truth. You won because you allowed time, character, consistency, and human nature to reveal what you didn't need to say out loud. People reveal themselves far better than you could ever expose them. All you had to do was stay authentic. And authenticity is a silent sniper. It kills false narratives without you touching a single trigger. You didn't know it then, but you were placed in a situation where every mask needed to fall off naturally, not forcefully. When people put on a mask, they're not trying to deceive strangers. They're trying to deceive themselves first. They tell lies long enough to feel powerful, to feel superior, to feel like the hero of a story that never belonged to them. And do you know when the mask slips? When they feel untouchable, when they think no one is paying attention, when they believe their manipulation is invisible, when they start tasting the illusion of control, that's when the truth starts leaking from the cracks. Chosen ones, while you were heartbroken, confused, or questioning your own worth, they were confidently performing. But performances always require energy, and masks require maintenance. Sooner or later, exhaustion sets in, inconsistencies slip through, and false personas crumble like cheap stage props under real lighting. And the most poetic part, you never had to participate. You didn't have to raise your voice, recruit allies, or turn the situation into war. Silence is sometimes the loudest truth detector. Let's address the thought many chosen ones have. Why didn't people see it sooner? Because manipulation is most effective in early chapters. People believe what is presented until time shows what is real. Lies need quick reactions, but truth plays the long game. You were not being ignored. You were being carefully observed. See, chosen ones live in alignment, while pretenders live in performance. When the mask falls, people finally see the difference between the costume and the character. Their goal was never just to lie about you. It was to shrink your presence, destabilize your confidence, and make others question your essence. But chosen ones, what people forget is this universal rule. You cannot destroy someone who didn't build their identity through external validation. Your worth was internal. They relied on applause. You were rooted. They were performing. And roots always outlive theatrics. Chosen ones, let's go even deeper. They believed that by painting a false version of you, they were controlling the narrative. But in reality, all they did was create a contrast so sharp, so visible, and so undeniable that when the truth finally surfaced, the world didn't just see you clearly. They saw them clearly too. Every attempt to expose you turned into a mirror reflecting their own insecurity, envy, and emotional immaturity. And what happened to you during this time? You grew, you observed, you evolved. You became emotionally bulletproof because nothing strengthens a chosen one more than seeing who is real and who is not. Without having to pull off masks with your own hands, you learned who claps only when they are winning, who supports only when they are center stage, and who stands by only when they are unchallenged. Their downfall wasn't loud, it was gradual. People started noticing their inconsistent tone, their exaggerated stories, their nervous explanations, their obsession with your name, and the emotional cracks they couldn't hide anymore. They didn't get exposed through confrontation, they got exposed through time. So, chosen ones, don't ever regret not fighting, not arguing, or not defending yourself. Your silence was not weakness. It became evidence, and in the end, the only thing more powerful than truth is truth revealed by those who tried to hide it. Your character didn't just survive. It became the spotlight that made every mask melt. Number 4. Consequences began the exact moment they weaponized your name. Their downfall started the moment they chose to use your name as a weapon. Chosen ones, listen closely, because this part isn't about revenge, payback, or hoping someone suffers. It's about unavoidable cause and effect. Life is wired with unseen boundaries, silent rules, and energetic consequences. Whether people believe in karma, psychology, energy, integrity, vibration, or simple human logic, one thing remains universal. What you speak with intention always circles back to the speaker. And the moment someone decided to twist your truth, stain your character, or assassinate your name, they didn't just attack you. They activated a chain reaction that attached itself to their own path. When someone tries to break you with lies, they don't realize they're breaking their own luck first. See, chosen ones, not everyone understands the magnitude of speaking on someone else's name with cruelty, jealousy, or hidden motive. They treated your reputation like a toy, forgetting that words are not feathers, they are boomerangs, and the moment they formed that first lie, the moment their tongue crafted that first twisted narrative, the moment they shared your name with the intention to harm, something in their own blueprint shifted. Not because some external force punished them, not because anyone cursed them, but because you cannot build your future by trying to destroy someone else's. They didn't realize that the very second they aimed their words like arrows, the point didn't pierce you, it pierced their own destiny. Why? Because chosen ones carry an energy of alignment, authenticity, and inner truth. Lies, by nature, have no power over someone who is rooted in authenticity. So when those lies failed to land, they didn't disappear. They simply rerouted back toward the one who created them. At first, the consequences are quiet, almost invisible. A missed opportunity here, a delayed result there. Plans start falling apart without obvious reason. Friendships or alliances that once felt solid start to fade. People who once believed in them start noticing inconsistencies they can't explain. Nothing dramatic at first, just subtle shift after subtle shift until their life begins to feel off balance. They think it's stress, they think it's timing, they think it's bad luck. But chosen ones, it's neither coincidence nor randomness. It's energetic contamination from their own behavior. Lies are not harmless. Lies are not temporary. Lies are not jokes. Lies are seeds. And seeds don't care about intention. They care about where they were planted. When they planted lies toward you, chosen one, they assumed they were burying your growth. But they were actually burying their own stability. Their words became weeds in their own garden. Their actions became knots tied around their own progress. They never understood that every attack against someone aligned, evolving, and purpose-driven becomes a disruption to the attacker's own path. And chosen ones, here's the part that should give you both clarity and peace. You didn't need to defend yourself, because the truth defended itself the moment they spoke the lie. Your restraint wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. You didn't react because you instinctively knew reacting puts you on their level, and chosen ones do not descend, they ascend. You didn't chase rumors because you understood that what is rooted in truth doesn't need to compete with what is built on fiction. You chose silence not because you lacked words, but because your evolution demanded higher focus. Meanwhile, their so-called victory was secretly their own undoing. They thought they won something when they convinced an audience. They thought their performance meant progress. They mistook temporary attention for permanent power. But chosen ones, there is one thing a liar can never outrun: the long-term exposure of their own pattern. As time passed, they didn't realize the trap they set wasn't designed for you. It was designed by them, for them, without them even knowing it. That's how consequences work for those who weaponize words. Not dramatic, not loud, not instant, but inevitable. You may wonder, why wasn't I destroyed by what they did? Because truth is reinforced, not erased. by adversity. Because character is revealed, not damaged, by rumors. Because chosen ones rise higher when misunderstood, not lower. So chosen ones release the idea that someone got away with what they did to you. They didn't. They can't. Life doesn't let intentions evaporate. It returns them with clarity. Their punishment didn't start months later. It started the moment their lips moved with malice, and every step they took afterward walked them closer to the result of their own behavior. While they tried to stain your story, they smudged their own legacy. While they traded truth for attention, they traded peace for instability. While they gambled with your name, they forfeited their own credibility. You didn't have to swing, you simply had to survive. And chosen ones' survival is the loudest revenge ever written. Number 5. They weren't unmasked to embarrass them, they were unmasked to release you. They weren't exposed to humiliate them, they were exposed to liberate you. Chosen ones, listen closely, because this part is one that many people misunderstand. Exposure is not always about punishment, payback, or revenge. Sometimes exposure is simply the universe turning the lights on so you can finally see who has been standing beside you with a mask instead of a face. Not every betrayal is meant to break you. Some betrayals are meant to wake you. And you, my dear chosen one, were never meant to stay in environments that pretended to celebrate you while quietly resenting your potential, your inner strength, and your evolving identity. There were people around you who were never clapping for you. They were clapping for the version of you that was still wounded, insecure, confused, and unaware of your own value. They applauded as long as you remained manageable, predictable, and dimmed. The moment you began to grow, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or intellectually, their silent discomfort evolved into passive aggression, subtle sabotage, and two-faced commentary. Their smiles were social camouflage, their advice was coded manipulation, and their so-called support was nothing more than audience participation in your struggle. You weren't blind, chosen one, you were loyal. And loyalty sometimes looks like blindness when you refuse to see what your heart is not ready to accept. You held on because you believed in potential, not patterns. You gave grace because you understood pain, not malice. You stayed because you valued bonds, not benefits. But the universe will never allow a chosen one to stay imprisoned by illusions, false alliances, or counterfeit connections. When energy turns toxic, vibration turns heavy, and intuition starts whispering, exposure becomes the upgrade. Chosen one, the truth surfaced not to embarrass anyone, but to free you. Because if nothing had been revealed, you would have stayed where your growth was quietly being suffocated. You would have continued watering dead plants, emotionally investing in takers, sacrificing for actors, and defending people who practiced betrayal like a habit. You would have mistaken loyalty for destiny, attachment for alignment, and history for future. Exposure was not an attack, it was an exit sign. And let's address the quiet pain. You didn't lose anything when people revealed who they truly were. You lost illusions, assumptions, projections, and hopes, not actual support, not genuine love, not real loyalty. What fell away was never yours. It was simply occupying the space meant for who and what was aligned. Sometimes you don't get blessed while standing in the wrong room. You get blessed after you leave it. At first, exposure feels like betrayal. Eventually, you realize it was direction. And somewhere in the middle, you recognize it was protection disguised as disappointment. You were never meant to break in that environment. You were meant to outgrow it. They were unmasked not to destroy their reputation, but to release the invisible chains you didn't notice, tightening around your peace, worth, confidence, and identity. When the wrong people exited, clarity entered. And clarity is a more valuable currency than comfort ever will be. Exposure didn't require a dramatic confrontation, a public announcement, or a got-you moment. The universe doesn't need theatrics. Truth is powerful all by itself. So situations shifted, conversations changed, intentions leaked, tones shifted, loyalty cracked, and suddenly you saw what was always there. The freedom wasn't in what you walked away from. The freedom existed the moment you finally understood. Chosen ones, some situations end without closure, so you won't reopen the door. Some relationships dissolve quietly, so you don't return out of nostalgia. Some truths come slow, so your healing isn't rushed. Exposure is not cruelty, it is clarity. And clarity is the passport to elevation. The life you are stepping into now, chosen one, the peace you feel, the confidence you're growing into, the mindset you're developing, the emotional intelligence you're strengthening, none of it could have happened in a space where you were silently disrespected, misunderstood, or undervalued. Your evolution required a clean atmosphere, not contaminated air filled with envy, insecurity, and jealousy disguised as advice. You didn't rise because they fell. You rose because the weight finally lifted. So don't resent the exposure. Respect it, honor it, thank it. Because it was the turning point where your story stopped revolving around survival and started aligning with expansion. You weren't set free because they were bad. You were set free because you were chosen for more. Number 6. Truth didn't race to prove itself, because it was built to outlast every false narrative. Truth doesn't run, it returns. My dear chosen ones, listen closely, because this part is not just information, it's identity. When the lies started spreading, when your name started traveling through mouths it didn't belong in, when rumors replaced reality, and when false perception temporarily became louder than factual experience, you probably questioned yourself for a moment. Should I defend myself? Should I correct the story? Should I expose everything and everyone? But something inside you whispered, no, stay still. And that wasn't weakness, chosen one, that was wisdom. There is a reason truth does not sprint. Things built on authenticity don't panic, only lies fear time. Truth is never in a rush, because it knows it will outlive whatever tries to outshine or outrun it. Lies behave like wildfire, rapid, dramatic, loud and destructive, but temporary. Truth behaves like water, patient, steady, and inevitable. It always finds its way back, even if it must carve through mountains. While the liars scrambled desperately to keep their narrative alive, you continued living, growing, learning, evolving, and succeeding. You didn't need to come down from your mountain to wrestle with people throwing stones from below. Chosen ones do not waste energy proving what will eventually prove itself. Those who lied on you didn't realize that every lie needs fuel, maintenance, rehearsal, and audience support to survive. Lies are high maintenance. They require constant retelling, emotional exaggeration, and memory gymnastics. They require repeat performances to keep the illusion alive. But truth, it requires nothing, not even your voice. It stands like a rooted tree, silent, steady, and undeniable. They thought silence meant defeat, but silence was simply your refusal to waste royal energy on peasant-level noise. Silence is a strategy only the strong understand. Chosen ones, your calmness wasn't just maturity, it was your greatest evidence. While they stayed busy crafting fiction, you stayed busy becoming the proof they were narrating stories. You were living results. You didn't lose sleep rehearsing your version. They lost sleep ensuring theirs appeared believable. They needed allies, spectators, reactors, and listeners. You needed nothing but time, and time is loyal to truth. It always reveals what gossip tries to conceal. Understand this. When someone lies, they don't just betray you, they betray their own character. Eventually, people started noticing the cracks, the inconsistencies, the changing details, the emotional overacting, the unnecessary conviction. People began thinking, why are they so obsessed? Why do they keep repeating the same story? Why does the story keep changing? And quietly, the narrative began collapsing on its own. Lies are loud at the beginning and silent at the end. Truth is silent at the beginning and thunderous at the end. And here's the part most chosen ones never realize. You didn't win because you fought. You won because you didn't need to. Your behavior, your grace, your resilience, your focus, your growth, your consistency, and your evolution dismantled every accusation without a single confrontation. While they tried to convince people who you were, you simply showed people who you are. Lies needed constant defending, but truth defended itself the moment your life contradicted their narrative. The liar eventually gets exposed by their own desperation. They run out of new material, they forget the fabricated details, they slip up, they contradict themselves, and eventually they reveal far more about their own insecurities than your reality. The more they spoke, the more they dug. The more you stayed silent, the more you rose. The moment truth resurfaced, and it always does, it didn't just correct the lie, it embarrassed it. So, chosen one, never feel ashamed for not defending yourself. Never regret staying silent. Never doubt your decision to leave the lies untouched. You didn't lose a battle. You refused to fight in an arena beneath your worth. And that right there is not just survival, it's mastery. Truth didn't rush. It returned, and when it did, it didn't need explanation. Because everyone finally saw what was real. Number 7. Their attempts to break you only triggered a stronger level of protection around your life. Their attacks became the insurance policy that secured your rise. My dear chosen ones, listen closely, because this is the part nobody warned you about. The plot twist they never saw coming. The very slander they used to injure you was the same force that quietly wrapped your life in layers of unseen protection. While they thought they were tearing you apart, exposing you and making you vulnerable, they were unknowingly locking you into a level of safety, awareness, and elevation that only pressure can activate. They believed their words were weapons, but they didn't realize they were becoming the architects of your armor. They thought they were shaking your foundation, but they were actually reinforcing it. They didn't know that trying to break a chosen one only tightens the shield around their destiny. People don't understand the hidden laws of intention. When someone targets a person with malicious words, rumors, exaggerations, and character attacks, they don't just activate social drama. They activate a universal counteraction. The universe has a strange way of responding to injustice, not by punishing the innocent, but by securing them. The moment they lied on your name, exaggerated your life, twisted your innocence, or dragged your character through dirty conversations, they didn't make you weaker. They triggered an energetic shift that pushed you into a more protected, more selective, more elevated territory. You didn't stand in silence because you were afraid. You stood still because forces bigger than their gossip stepped in. Chosen ones, you weren't being ignored. You were being insulated. You weren't losing support. You were losing liabilities. You weren't becoming isolated. You were being placed in a circle where only truth could breathe. They thought their words would damage how others viewed you. But what they actually did was alert life itself that you were someone worth guarding. They wanted you exposed, but life wrapped you in quiet layers of wisdom, discernment, emotional strength, and mental clarity. They were pushing you toward breakdown, but all they did was steer you into breakthrough. And here's the part that truly stings them. You didn't become untouchable by chance. You became untouchable because they tried to touch you. You didn't gain resilience through comfort. You earned it through attempted destruction. Your intuition didn't sharpen because everyone supported you. It sharpened because you had to learn who wasn't real. Your standards didn't rise because you wanted to be picky. They rose because you saw what happens when you trust openly in a world full of envy wearing friendly smiles. Chosen ones, imagine this. Every time they spoke your name with poison, it was like another brick placed onto an invisible fortress. Every time they tried to damage you socially, they gave you another reason to be unavailable to the wrong people. Every attempt to break you was another reason you grew stronger without explaining how. They believed they were exposing you, but they were exposing themselves to everyone who eventually noticed their pattern. They thought they were sabotaging your connections, but they were simply filtering your network. They celebrated early, not realizing you were never losing anything meant for your future. And while they laughed, whispered, plotted, and performed, they didn't notice what was happening in silence. You were becoming wiser, calmer, more strategic, more focused, harder to access, and impossible to manipulate. They mistook your stillness for defeat, not realizing it was evolution. They misread your silence as weakness, not understanding it was observation. They assumed you were shrinking, not knowing you were transforming. They didn't see that everything they were trying to destroy became the blueprint of your growth. Their lies became your lessons. Their slander became your filter. Their attacks became your boundaries. Their intentions became your motivation. And chosen ones, let's be real, if they never attacked you, you might have stayed comfortable, naive, trusting, and emotionally accessible to people who were never meant to carry your destiny. So in a twisted way, they played themselves while trying to play you. They cleared your path while trying to block it. They identified themselves as threats without you having to confront them. They made their own exit while believing they were pushing you out. What they thought was a trap became your training. What they meant as damage became your development. What they assumed was humiliation became your transformation. They tried to weaken your name, but all they did was strengthen your shield. They tried to break your confidence, but they ended up building your caution. They tried to make you feel unworthy, but they only proved that you were worth attacking. Chosen ones, understand this with your whole being. They did not protect you. They provoked the protection that was always meant for you. Their slander did not sabotage your path, it secured it. Their hate did not stop your destiny, it sealed it. And now the same people who tried to hurt you will eventually have to face the reality that the fire they created is the same fire that forged your unshakable strength. Number 8. They will witness the rise. They tried to bury, become bigger than their imagination. They will stay long enough to watch what they tried to bury become impossible to ignore. Chosen ones, listen closely, because this part isn't just powerful, it's poetic justice wrapped in reality. The people who tried to erase your name, distort your story, and bury your potential won't simply fade away into the background. No, life has a way of keeping certain individuals around, not for your downfall, but for your reveal. They won't exit the stage before the plot twist arrives. They won't disappear before the truth walks into the light. They will remain close enough, aware enough, and conscious enough to witness what they never expected. You rising higher than the very narrative they crafted to destroy you. There is a timing that cannot be rushed, manipulated, threatened, or controlled, chosen one. Some things unfold only when the audience is seated, silent, and paying attention. Your elevation isn't a single emotional moment, a sudden viral clip, or a lucky break. It is a season built like architecture, layer upon layer, proof upon proof, chapter upon chapter, until the truth is so large, so undeniable, so visible, that even the ones who lied will have no choice but to swallow it whole. They won't be able to whisper excuses. They won't be able to deny what unfolds in front of their eyes, and they won't be able to pretend they weren't watching. They will see doors open for you that they never imagined could exist for someone they tried to discredit. They will watch opportunities find you that were never meant to be approved by their opinions. They will see your name show up in rooms they never had access to, whether physically, professionally, socially, or mentally. And that moment, chosen ones, is not for arrogance or revenge. It is to remind the universe, the world, and every silent observer that truth cannot be buried by gossip, envy, or manipulation. This isn't about instant karma or dramatic collapse. It's not about explosions, scandals, or lightning strike consequences. It's about slow, steady, undeniable reversal, the kind that forces reflection. While they chase attention, you will be building legacy. While they try to keep up appearances, you will be leveling up. While they scramble to maintain their false image, you will be effortlessly embodying your true identity. This is a different kind of victory, one that does not shout, but echoes forever. Chosen ones, you must understand the brilliance of this. The very lies meant to sabotage, you will become the contrast that reveals how real, resilient, and remarkable you truly are. Their attempts to bury you become the soil that amplifies your growth. Their attempts to discredit you become the evidence of your endurance. Their attempts to stop you become the reason people admire you. What they meant to hide becomes the highlight. What they meant for damage becomes documentation. What they intended for shame becomes your storyline of strength. And here is the sting they will never admit publicly. Watching your rise will hurt more than any confrontation could have. Seeing you thrive without retaliating will crush them more than any clapback. Realizing their words didn't define you, but exposed them, will be the moment they taste the bitterness of their own actions. They will experience that deep, silent, internal shock that comes when life proves them wrong without you having to say a single word. Your success will not be loud to embarrass them, but clear enough to convict them. It will not be performed. It will be lived. It will not be staged. It will be authentic. And authenticity is the one thing liars cannot compete with. You won't need revenge, receipts, explanations, or speeches. Your existence will become its own undeniable evidence. You will move with respect, influence, clarity, confidence, and power, not because you fought for validation, but because you evolved beyond it. And when they look at you, whether from a distance, through mutual circles, online, through whispers, or in silent observation, they will see the full picture. The person they tried to break out grew them. They will realize that their efforts didn't delay your destiny, they prepared its foundation. The higher you rise, chosen one, the smaller their stories will appear, because truth doesn't just win, it outlives. You are not rising in spite of them. You are rising because nothing they did was strong enough to stop you. Stay focused, chosen one. Your elevation has an audience. Number 9. Their slander didn't define you, it revealed your unshakable resilience under pressure. Their slander didn't break you, it broadcasted your unshakable strength. My dear chosen ones, remember this. When someone tries to ruin your name and it doesn't work, your silence becomes louder than their storytelling. Chosen ones, lean in once again, because this part is not just truth, it's revelation. They thought the lies they spread would stain your name permanently, that rumors would stick like glue, and that people would swallow every fabricated detail without questioning the source. But life has a funny way of flipping the script. What was meant to destroy your reputation ended up unveiling your resilience, your emotional maturity, your inner discipline, and your self-control. They wanted to redefine you, but all they ended up doing was redefining themselves. You didn't just survive their slander, you mastered yourself through it, and that is something most people will never understand because it requires levels of strength that cannot be faked, bought, or borrowed. Anyone can clap back, anyone can fight dirty, anyone can start a war, but not everyone can outgrow the battlefield. Chosen ones, your silence, your calmness, and your lack of emotional reaction was not weakness. It was a statement that screamed, "My value is not up for debate." They expected you to explode, defend, argue, unravel, retaliate, and beg people to believe you. They prepared for drama. They prepared for a scene. They prepared for you to act exactly how they described you. But you didn't. And that alone shattered their entire plan. When they told their lies, they thought they were painting your image, but they accidentally exposed their envy, insecurity, obsession, and emotional immaturity. Because chosen ones, the truth always reveals itself through behavior, not words. The people who watched you didn't just see the accusations, they saw your demeanor. They watched how you carried yourself when your name was under attack. They observed that you didn't shift your values, you didn't change your principles, and you didn't lower your standards to match their chaos. They noticed that while they were loud, you were focused. While they craved attention, you built yourself quietly. While they needed an audience, you needed evolution. And that is why you won without lifting a single verbal weapon. Your silence became your microphone. Your growth became your response. Your elevation became your proof. Real chosen ones don't crumble when judged. They get stronger. They don't break down when misunderstood. They become more aligned. They don't beg for clarity. They become clarity. What they never understood, my chosen ones, is that slander is not a reflection of the person being spoken about. It is a reflection of the person who is speaking. Think about it. Someone who is genuinely secure, content and fulfilled has no desire to tear down another person's identity. Slander is the vocabulary of the threatened, lies are the actions of the insecure. Gossip is the language of the weak. They didn't target you because you were wrong. They targeted you because you were strong. Your resilience was revealed every time you refused to repeat their name. Every time you chose healing over retaliation. Every time you kept building instead of defending. Every time you moved in silence while they moved with desperation. You didn't need approval to authenticate yourself, and that scared them more than anything they tried to do. Chosen ones, you must realize something powerful. Your reputation was never built by opinions. It was built by consistency. People may have heard the lies temporarily, but they witnessed your character permanently, and character always outlasts rumor. They expected people to believe what they said, but instead, people believed what they saw. Because you were the evidence, you were the proof. You were the contradiction to their false narrative. And the result? Your reputation didn't just survive, it sharpened. You didn't just avoid destruction, you gained respect. You didn't just walk away, you leveled up. When everything settled, it became clear who had integrity and who had performance, who walked with purpose and who walked with insecurity, who had inner peace and who had inner chaos. So chosen ones, don't ever regret staying silent. Don't ever regret refusing to fight back. Don't ever regret not lowering yourself to their emotional frequency. Slander would have been your downfall if you were ordinary. But it became your spotlight because you were chosen. They tried to weaponize your name, but all they did was reveal your resilience, your spirit, your mental strength, and your emotional discipline. You didn't just protect your reputation, you upgraded it. And that is why their lies failed and your legacy won. And as we bring this message to a close, chosen ones, understand this. You were never fighting for your name. Your name was fighting for you. The very pressure that was supposed to break you became the proof that you were built for bigger, louder, and higher. What happened to you was not the ending of a chapter, but the unveiling of your evolution. If this spoke to your soul, support the movement. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs it, and drop 77 in the comments so we know you're rising, not retreating. Your story is only getting started.